Hello and welcome to Talk from Superheroes. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Ivamy.
And I'm Diana McCullum.
And you're listening to Talk from Superheroes, where every week we discuss a piece of heroic television or film. And this week on the podcast, we are talking about the return of the Blue Boy Who Go Fast. We're talking about Sonic 2.
He's a circle. He's got to go fast.
He is sometimes a circle,
A lot of times, my favorite times he's a circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's my favorite circle. If someone's like, what's your favorite circle? I'd be like, Sonic the Hedgehog.
A lot of things are circles, so it would be tough for me to rank my circles.
No, it's number one, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Wow, it's easy for you. I'm happy for you.
I can't think of a second good circle.
Wheel?
What's a wheel ever done for me?
Eyes.
They're like ovals.
Eyes are circles.
Oh, like the inside of the eye. Yeah. Not if you like pop your eye out of your head. That's an oval.
There's circles involved in the eye process.
No, there's a circle in there.
But I'm not going deep into it because I haven't thought about my favorite circles like you have.
We'll come back to you guys with our favorite circles.
Yes, you're going with a balled up Sonic.
I'm going up with a ball.
You're going with a balled up Sonic. So this week we were talking about Sonic 2 on today's episode of the podcast. It is a new movie, and whenever we talk about something new, we are going to give you a spoiler-free review. So we'll give you a spoiler-free review in case you're on the fence about seeing it or just want a taste of the episode before you do. Then once you hear the theme song, we're going to get into the spoiler-filled section. So we'll give you a spoiler-free review of Sonic 2 just to let everybody know what's coming up on the podcast. Next week on the podcast, we are going to be talking about Everything Everywhere All at Once is going to be next week on the podcast. And as well, we've got a lot of tweets from y'all who enjoyed us being babies and idiots who had never seen a Twilight film wandering into that last month as a continuation of Patterson's The Batman and looking for some vampire stuff. So we're gonna finish off the Twilight franchise. We're gonna drop 2 Patreon bonus episodes this month, which I don't think we've ever done before.
We have never done a double down, but the people have demanded we watch the rest of Twilight and see what happens. So
yes.
we are slaves to your will.
Yeah, so
we also want to know what happens.
We also kind of want to know what happens.
We're genuinely invested.
So we're going to drop an episode on Eclipse, which is the 3rd one, if I remember correctly, and then we're going to drop another Patreon episode that is going to be the combination of Breaking Dawn Part 1 and 2, because it's silly. These films are insane, and y'all seem to like the fact that we've never seen them before. So we're dropping that over on patreon.com/fromsuperheroes for hero level patrons. Check that out if you're a member, or if you're not, have a look and see if you want to become one. But today we're going to be talking about Sonic 2, and let's do a spoiler-free review. Simple question. Diana, did you like it?
I didn't like it. I loved Sonic 2, you guys.
Oh!
The old switcheroo on you guys. If you're wondering if you should see Sonic 2, you should. I would describe it as a romp, a delightful family adventure with, like, all the humor that's for adults is an adult humor. It's just like a joke adults would get, but maybe kids wouldn't. Like, just like a dated reference or something that I'm like, kids won't get that, but that's funny.
Sure.
So the humor's wonderful. The action's wonderful. The relationships and the friendships are so nice. There's lots of fun references to the games, but not like in a way that takes away from the movie. Like, you have to have played the game or know anything about like the storylines of Sonic. I had a wonderful time at Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and also it's just called Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which is what's nice. No secondary title. So I had a wonderful time. I'll watch it again. I can't wait to watch it again, actually. So much fun and so much heart. Andrew, did you enjoy Sonic the Hedgehog 2?
I think it's terrific. I think it's borderline a love for me too. It is a lot of fun. I think anyone who is listening to our spoiler-free review, if you're on the fence about seeing it, if you found any enjoyment about Sonic 1, you'll find it in Sonic 2 as well. It very much is the same humor, the same style, the same performances. I would even say kind of like honed in as well a little bit because, you know, it's been a while since we watched one. We didn't rewatch it before checking out this one. But I remember like we liked it, but we didn't like love it. And I think that this really just kind of focuses in on like, fuck it, here's what's fun, and we are doing what's fun, and then in the next scene, it's what's fun. The scene after that, also what's fun. And it just never stops being a fun time without being like monotonous or like just getting tiring in any way. I would say the movie's maybe 15 minutes too long, but that's still just like a mild criticism. Other than that, I think this is great for adults. I think this is great for kids. I think they accomplished exactly what they set out to make. And Ben Schwartz is Sonic.
Oh, Ben Schwartz is Sonic. He's so good. He's so funny. He's so much energy and heart. He is absolutely wonderful. I will completely agree, and I'm conflicted about the 15 minutes thing, because I do also think it's about 15 minutes too long. But I tried to figure out what scenes to cut, and there are scenes you can cut that don't affect the plot, but they're all really funny, and I wanted to keep them. So it was a very hard. So I get why the cutting room floor was a little difficult on this movie, because everything that was irrelevant was just very funny.
Right.
So it's tough.
Yeah, I think that this is a movie where it feels like they let the actors just have fun with it and not be kind of a slave to the script. Like, it feels almost semi-improvisational.
Which I don't know how you do when 3 characters are CG'd and I don't think the actors were on set.
It must have been a very tough thing to do, but also I think a very easy thing to do when it's like they're not on set together. When it's like, okay, this is a scene with, Jim Carrey's Robotnik and Sonic the Hedgehog. So, Jim, you're alone on a soundstage today. Why don't you give us 12 takes, play with it, do 12 different things. Later, we'll have Ben play off of, and we might select the edit in what he's playing off of. So I agree with you. It's definitely tricky to improvise without a scene partner in a lot of these. But in a lot of these, it's just like, just chew the scenery in the funnest way and do whatever you want, and I think it really works.
Yeah, but definitely a watch, definitely a love.
Yeah.
You can tell it's the same writers and directors, and you can feel it. Like Andrew said, it is a honed-in, better version of one. Even one is a very good movie. So.
And I think that is part of the reason why this works so much, is that it is the same writers and directors. And in one, areas where they did maybe falter a little bit, in this one, they knew the team, they knew who they could trust to improvise, which is frankly all of them. But I think it is very much a like, okay, we don't need to necessarily stress joke writing for Jim Carrey's Robotnik. He's showing up on set. We're telling him to turn the performance up to 11. He's basically doing Batman Forever's Riddler. Let him go nuts, and we don't need to I think just knowing who they were working with really added a lot to this second project.
Yeah, this project felt like instead of focusing on kind of like the dialogue, they were like, let's put them in crazier situations so that they can have more fun.
Yeah.
Because the situations were crazier in this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's my take.
Yeah, I think they teed everyone up for success, which is what a good writer and director does when you can count on the actors that you're working with. And yeah, everything just really coalesced well in Sonic 2. It's fun for literally everyone.
Literally
I can't think of like an age or a family or a person who would be like, if you poo-poo Sonic 2, then it's like, well, you just don't like any kind of zany family-friendly entertainment, because this is great.
You have no joy, because we loved it. The kids in front of us, when the movie was over, told their parents that it was their favorite film of all time.
They did say that.
I bet they say that about every film they see, but they still liked it.
They still liked it about that, and no disrespect to Jaleel White or the other people who have voiced Sonic over the years, but Ben Schwartz is Sonic. Like, forever will be Sonic in my head. If a child showed me their crayon drawing of Sonic, I'd be like, oh, Ben Schwartz. Just that is who this character is now to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, before we get into the spoiler-filled section of the episode, we want to thank our wonderful sponsor of today's episode. We want to thank our friends over at Ghost Bed.
Oh, I love Ghost Bed because I love sleeping. I'm an expert on sleep, you guys. You don't know this? If there were Sleep Olympics, I would win.
You are very good at it.
I am pretty damn good at sleeping. So.
And I know that seems like a nothing Some people are bad at it. I'm bad at
Andrew's
it.
a bad sleeper.
I'm bad at it. Ghost Bed is helping, but I'm naturally bad. Diana's coming in just as a champion.
I'm a champion. I know good materials. I know what you have to work with, and you're going to want a Ghost Bed product. From their mattresses to their sheets, they're designed with cooling features, which I especially love. They're perfect if you sleep warm. Andrew sleeps a little warm. I don't actually sleep very warm, but I sleep on a sleep mask, and it makes my head very hot. When we got the Ghost Bed pillows, they're very cooling. My head has actually been significantly less hot when I wake up in the mornings. Like, the cooling features are like seeping into the sleep mask. It's very, very cool.
I never thought about the additional heat of the sleep mask. That's a good point.
I've wrapped my head in fabric.
That's fair. See, I just generally run hot, and also if I start sweating, my body temperature doesn't go down for like 2 hours. I'm just nasty, sweaty boy. So I really like that they have the cooling features. They've even got a mattress dubbed the coolest bed in the world. It's quality and comfort at affordable prices. Love the cooling technology in every mattress so you sleep longer at night. They're backed by a 20 to 25-year warranty, which is twice the industry standard.
That's such a long time. And not only that, they have a 101 night at home sleep trial. You can try it out for 101 nights, also a very long time. If you don't like it, you can return it, get your money back. No hard feelings. Hope you enjoyed your ghost bed.
And here's a little secret, too, about that 101 night at home sleep trial, is that it's like you get 101 nights where you get to sleep on it at home. They don't mention in that return policy that includes naps. You get bonus naps in there.
You can sleep on it during the day.
There's more than 101 sleeps that you get to try that out. It's a 101 night sleep trial, but you can get bonus naps in there to really make sure it's the one.
If it was me, that's 202 sleeps. I nap daily.
It's a pretty consistent nappage. It's free shipping, and most orders ship within 24 hours. So to find your perfect mattress, check out ghostbed.com/TFS. So right now, GhostBed is offering our listeners 40% off GhostBed bundles where you get a mattress and adjustable base, or 30% off site-wide. So that is 30% off all mattresses plus 2 luxury pillows using promo code TFS at ghostbed.com/TFS. So hurry, take advantage of these savings. That's ghostbed.com/TFS and use promo code TFS. And thank you, GhostBed, for your support.
Thank you, GhostBed.
And now let's get into it. Let's talk about Sonic 2. All right, so we have seen and loved Sonic 2.
Guys, we got glared at for laughing too hard at Sonic 2.
We got glared at by the parents who don't have joy in their hearts, because there were parents who were like, we're here to see this baby movie for babies with our children, and we will not care, and we will not unlock our hearts to the joy that is Ben Schwartz doing a goof with Jim Carrey. And we were laughing our asses off. Like, I wanted to stand up and be like, mothers, fathers, open your hearts to the joy.
Take this moment where your children are also laughing and engaged to laugh and be engaged with this wonderful, incredible fart joke that is going on. It was the scene we got glared at was my favorite scene.
The fart joke scene.
It was a long fart joke scene, but it was perfect because, listeners, if you haven't seen the movie, it is a fart joke scene that involves no actual farts, which makes it my favorite fart joke scene of all time.
And also, it is the added fact that it is a play off of how stupid the Rube Goldberg machine Ferris Bueller setup is. So it is a play off of so James Marsden as the pseudo father of Sonic comes up into the attic to wish him good night and triggers a tripwire, and then there's a marionette balloon head Sonic reading a newspaper, and it clicks play on a cassette tape that's like, don't come in, I have too many farts. And it's Ben Schwartz making it's not fart sound effects, it's him making it with his own mouth. And that's so fucking funny.
And it's so funny, and the doll is slowly falling over with each additional fart sound, and the scene went so much longer than I thought it was going to go. There was 4 fake fart sounds.
Oh. And the marionette work or CGI work on the slowly deflating dummy
balloons,
that was reading the newspaper is so funny as well. It goes limp in the funniest possible way. That scene is absolutely solid gold.
That scene is solid gold. A few things to say about that scene. I actually think it's an homage to Ferris Bueller.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, did you say Ferris Bueller?
Yeah.
Sorry. I remember you say Rube Goldberg, but what?
Oh, the Rube Goldberg machine of Ferris Bueller.
Of
the Ferris Buellian
Sorry.
Rube Goldberg machine of don't come in, I've got a
cold,
cough.
and the mom just leaves and falls for that. What I also really like about it is that this movie seems to really love Rube Goldberg machines, because right off the top we have the super long one that Robotnik does.
Yeah.
And then just to cut to Sonic's really crappy one, I think is very funny. Although it is a lot of Rube Goldberg in one movie to be It's kind of like Joker Batman, like these two are the same, two sides of the same coin. They both love Rube Goldberg machines.
Well, I think there is something about hammering the same style of joke throughout the movie, like that, like giving it to Robotnik, giving it to Sonic. I don't think it's so much meant to be the aren't we so smart, our hero and villain parallel one another, as much as it is just them being like, we have found a style that works for this type of comedy and this humor and this heightened world that this exists in, and we're going to stick with that. And I think the world that this exists in is Batman 66. And I think that's the exact right world where this exists. This is magical Batman 66, where it is giant, unnecessarily complex things like Rube Goldberg machines, like just things that are unnecessarily complex when they don't need to be. The obsession with alliteration as well, like just like the constant like, you bumbling, babbling buffoons, and just like the constant like, can we get 3 Bs? Can we get 4 Ds back to back? And just like, what is the series of the biggest words that starts with the same syllable that we can cascade over top of one another? You fumbling, fungal, foolish, like, and it just keeps going. And they do that a lot, and I like that, and that feels very Batman 66 to me as well.
I can feel some Batman 66. It feels like Batman 66 meets Schumacher Batman, and it's weird to combine 2 Batmans when it's a Sonic movie. But like where you still have like cool action and like Jim Carrey's here.
Right.
So that's part of it. Don't forget that the Riddler's here. And you were right early on in the episode. He is basically doing the Riddler. At one point, I think he did an exact line from Batman Forever.
Oh, really?
What did he like threw a bomb or something, and he was like, got him, and it was when they played Battleship in Batman Forever.
Okay.
And it felt like the exact same line read. I'm not going to lie. But, you know, I only know a little bit about Batman Forever. I'm not an expert. I'm not obsessed with Batman Forever in a weird kind of way.
Well,
no one would say that.
No one would say that about you. It hasn't come up in any of our reviews. The people definitely don't love it and mention it in reviews all of the time. I agree with you. I think the Jim Carrey-ness of it all, his performance, and some aspects of it are definitely a little bit Schumacher Batman Forever. I think where it coalesces, and this might be maybe a little bit too meta, and it is more Batman 66, is that even though we disagree on things like Batman Forever, the things that are charming about Batman Forever are people like Jim Carrey in it as the Riddler, who have made a decision that it is camp and they're doing 110%. And I don't think everyone on set knew what the vision was. And I don't think Schumacher's, air quote, Schumacher's vision brought that to the project. I think that was just wild choices by some people, but not all. Whereas 66 feels like everyone's in on it and gets it 100%. And I would even say that like Jim Carrey's Robotnik in this almost feels more like a Batman 66 villain. It feels like a Cesar Romero as the Joker, where it's this like maniacal, I am giving away all subtext for the children watching to understand that I'm the evil person. Just like even through tonality and like him talking to Knuckles and being like, of course, Knuckles, I'm someone you can trust. And be like, well, obviously you can't trust that dude. Why the fuck would he say a sentence like that in that insane tone? And that feels very like wink, nudge. We've removed subtext and subtlety, but that in itself is the joke.
Yeah, that is the joke. This movie does a great job of that is the joke for like the very young kids, like how over the top he is. But then on top of that, for the adults, there will be like some kind of like adult line in there. And when I say adult, I don't mean crass, but just like he calls him like a skin tag and space trash. And I'm like, these aren't, no child knows what a skin tag is. Like no 6-year-old watching Sonic is like, yes, skin tags. Very familiar with them. Call people skin tags all the time. That is a kind of like burn on someone that is for the adults watching of like, shit, a skin tag. who calls anyone
a
that?
skin tag.
That
is
is
so
burned
extreme.
it's burned into my head that he called Knuckles a skin tag. I don't know why.
Really? Okay.
That one was so weird to me.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm like, okay, space trash, whatever. He's from space.
Sure.
You think he's trashy for some reason, even though he's really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, just they're the really nice mix of like, here's fun camp, like just over the top brightness and action for kids with like every now and then just a joke the kids won't get for the adults at home.
And even,
Perfectly balanced.
And even like just some of the humor of like playing off of the genre and of lines that would normally exist in movies like this. So Adam Pally's character, Wade, the other police officer.
He's great.
Who's fantastic.
Everyone's good in this.
That is another thing I want to get into in a minute, that everyone is good in this. But Adam Pally as Wade at one point has this line when they first introduce Knuckles, where he's like, I knew a kid in grade school who was called Knuckles, and he could put his whole fist in his mouth. And if this is the same Knuckles, we are screwed.
I also wrote this line down. It was so funny.
And he delivers it dead serious. And it is the exact line of any other action movie where like one of the other characters has a backstory, and it's like, oh, if this is the same one, we're in trouble. And it always is. But this is just an idiot delivering a line from other movies.
This is the first time I've seen that trope turned around.
I loved it.
It's such a simple, tiny trope to turn around in a comedic way. Like any other movie, James Marsters would have run into Knuckles somehow before, and he would have been like, oh no, Knuckles. But instead, it's some random dude who's never met Knuckles, but knew a kid named Knuckles.
Yeah.
So funny.
And Adam Pally is a delight. He concerns me because he's pure chaotic energy. He's, as a comedian, he's a very funny comedian. I would say as a comedian, he has very Eric Andre energy, where it's just...
Oh, does he?
Yeah, it is pure...
Eric Andre is pure chaos.
If you haven't fallen...
He scares me.
Adam Pally is also that, where I'm like, you're very funny, and I actually don't ever want to meet you because... you kind of are sincerely off-putting with how chaotic you are.
Yeah, like I worry I'm going to fall into a void somehow.
There's a bunch of clips. Adam Pally, anytime he was on Conan, would just wear a Halloween costume for no particular reason at all, which is hilarious and chaotic. And just for our listeners, if you want to go down a delightful and weird and uncomfortable YouTube rabbit hole, I think it's just on YouTube. Adam Pally one night hosted The Late Late Show.
Oh, this one.
So this was after Craig Ferguson, just to take a brief detour. After Craig Ferguson retired from hosting The Late Late Show before James Corden took it over, there was a couple of weeks, maybe like a month, where they did guest hosts every night. And it was just like kind of unofficially a trial run where CBS was like, let's have some fun. Celebrities or up-and-comers come in, host, and see how it plays out. And Adam Pally hosted one night, and it was during a huge blizzard in New York. They almost canceled the show. There was roaming power outages. There's no live studio audience. All of their guests canceled, and they had to replace them with new guests who lived within a block of the studio because that was only as far as they could get people. And Ben Schwartz is his Andy Richter like co-host. So Adam Pally and Ben Schwartz hosting one night of a snowstorm of The Late Late Show. And it like several times throughout, Adam Pally's like, I'm never getting this. Everyone at CBS hates me.
It is a wild energy.
Insane.
And honestly, just some more Ben Schwartz in your life.
Also terrific.
Never a hindrance.
But that's just a random side note. Adam Pally, very funny in this movie, and all of the support characters are.
Everyone is really good. Like every single small character who like was kind of even forgettable in the first movie because they didn't have enough to do, absolutely shines. The wife and her sister and her fiance like get tons to do this time, and they're all so great. I will go into a quick negative before I keep going.
Okay.
I think Tails was a little flat personality-wise. I liked all his gadgets, but in terms of just like what's your personality? What are you like? Do you have any funny lines? Do you have any heartfelt lines? Tails felt the flattest of anyone.
I can kind of agree with that, and I think it is both a credit and a shame because the voice of Tails in this is Colleen O'Shaughnessy, who has voiced Tails for like since Tails has had a voice.
I do know that, and it's why I hate bringing it up, but I must be fair to the whole process of the film.
And I don't think it's a bad performance from Colleen as much as it is, and it kind of pains me to say this, because for the most part, with the exception of the delightful Ben Schwartz as Sonic, it's kind of shitty in animated movies when they get like named actors to do things that voice actors could typically do better. But Colleen is doing the same voice of Tails that she's been doing for 2 decades now. Mm-hmm. And it is a style that is not necessarily of this generation and of this movie. And it's not bad. It's just not the style that vibes with this.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was feeling. I was like, oh no, this is Tails. Like, you do feel like Tails, but you're not this Sonic's Tails.
Anytime it cut to her Tails, I was like, this is a great like cutscene from an upcoming Sonic video game.
Because you have to be quite flat in those. It's not really like, you don't have like huge energetic banter or improv or comedic scenes in the games so much. And I mean, in the old games, there was no talking.
Yeah.
So yeah, the fact that she's a great voice actress, but she's not a comedic actor. And this is a very comedic Sonic.
Yeah.
So it just like feels pretty flat.
Yeah, I agree. It just wasn't the right casting decision, and it's not necessarily bad. It just didn't fit the vibe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can agree with that.
And I will also say, this is going to be controversial. For the first half, I thought Idris Elba was quite bad too.
I actually kind of feel the same a little bit about Idris. I think he figured it out by the end of the movie, but if he figured it out, I mean, they're not recording. I mean, maybe they might be, but it feels like maybe the writing figured out what to do with Knuckles.
I think they didn't know how to make him a bad guy who got redeemed. Because once he was starting to be good, he started popping way bigger. Like, his lines were funnier, he was more interactive, he had more of a personality. But off the top, I think they didn't know how to introduce him as a guy who just attacks Sonic and then has a personality that we'll vibe with later. I don't know quite how to explain what I'm trying to say.
I think that
they didn't know how to write villain Knuckles.
Well, they wanted him to play 2 different characters because they wanted him to be a stone cold badass right away. They're like, he comes in and just punches the shit out of Sonic. Like, they cast Idris Elba to play Idris Elba in the first half of this movie, where they're like, Knuckles shows up and you're a dude who could punch Sonic to death. You are fucking unbelievable. You're Idris Elba. And then halfway through the movie, they're like, actually, we're going to slowly and awkwardly change you into kind of Drax of this like unself-aware comedic character.
He really became Drax, where he started out as like quite intelligent seeming, or at least not dumb.
Yeah, and I think it is Idris could play either, but doing this fumbling, poorly written transition from one to the other, Idris does struggle a little bit. Mm-hmm. And he's just not, a voice actor. Like, he is someone who has a very recognizable natural voice. And I think it's just not someone who's like, well, we need you to go from badass to kind of bumbling, likable buffoon. And I don't think he has that vocal range to portray that journey. And I don't think the script was there for him either.
Yeah, I really think we probably could have used a comedic voice actor as opposed to Idris in this role. Because, like, as much as you even just said earlier, like, with the exception of Ben Schwartz is a voice actor. Like, he does DuckTales. He does Ninja Turtles. Like, he's both. He's the only thing he does. I'd say he's about 50-50 both. So, like, that's why he shines so bright, I think, in this film. He's like, I can do the onset and I can do the booth. Like, I've got all worlds of Sonic crushed, and he plays the games. Like, he's Sonic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it would have hurt if they'd just gotten an actual comedic voice actor to play Knuckles. Although the idea of casting physically like a man who could beat up Ben Schwartz makes a lot of sense. Like, if you remove the CG and just do the fight scene with Ben Schwartz and Idris Elba, and you're like, well, yeah, of course, you need Idris Elba.
I'd buy a second ticket to see that version of the movie.
Where Idris Elba beats up Ben Schwartz.
Yeah, where it is Ben Schwartz eating popcorn at home, and Idris Elba kicks down the door, and he's just like, where is it? And Ben Schwartz like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Whoa, 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 I'm just trying to watch a movie with my dog. What's going on?
Who is this guy?
Yeah, and then he tries to beat up Idris Idris Elba, and Idris Elba just catches him on the head like a nerd.
Yeah, which is basically what he does. Yeah, I think it's they cast for physicality and not necessarily for the range of the character. But either way, it wasn't like distractingly bad. Like all of these are just a couple of nitpicks where it's like, yeah, I don't really know what they were aiming for with Idris and Knuckles, and Colleen O'Shaughnessy does a good job with Tails for a different movie or project and doesn't necessarily fit perfectly in with this one. But I do want to backtrack and agree with you on the fact that Maddie and her sister, who is getting married in this movie, Rachel, are Maddie being like the kind of like pseudo mother of Sonic, the adoptive mother of Sonic, and Rachel being her sister, are phenomenal in this movie. Phenomenal.
They are incredible. And this goes back to what I said about like things that are cuttable but are the best things in the film. Because like everything with this undercover fiance, completely cuttable, but also so incredibly funny and so well acted, and just like the energy's really amped. And the sister, especially Rachel, like when she gets broken up with and she's like, I'm gonna so this little gun, I could strangle the life out of him. And then she stops to drink a Mai Tai in the middle of breaking into the secret base.
And
it's so good.
Natasha Rothwell is the actress's name. Her driving the go-kart and being like, Randall! Screaming her fiance's name, who is an undercover agent to get Sonic.
And then like destroying the whole set and just like cool guys don't look at explosions, like drive away from it. And he like fell back in love with her, and I bought it. I completely bought it.
There is, in the middle of this movie, there is a mini movie for whom the stars are Natasha Rothwell and Shamar Moore as playing Randall, her fiance. And their disrupted wedding love story is fucking bananas good. Bananas good. I love it.
Absolutely, because when you find out he was an undercover agent, it's kind of like, okay, so like why would he be into her? Like she's cool, but like he would probably want someone who's like a bit of a badass. And for her to immediately go into badassery, so he's just like, oh shit, I do love her. Damn it. I need to take a taser for her. Not a bullet.
A taser. It's all tasers.
But I believed the love story.
I really did too. I bought into all of it, the disrupted wedding. I like the like heightened reality that there was still like a portal opened to I forget where, but to a snowy area.
Siberia.
Siberia. An avalanche comes through. And there were, I don't know if they're hired extras or they just didn't close down that portion of the set, but there's people still like on that resort, like just tanning, unaffected by the fact that a portal through space and time just opened, not caring at all. And that feels right as well for the reality that this movie exists in. Like shots of people still chilling by the pool while there's like guards with guns roaming the grounds.
Yeah, that was but like, I also get it. Like, if some guards with guns just showed up at our resort while we were down south, I'd be like, well, that doesn't involve me. I'm just gonna keep listening to my music and hope this kind of passes by.
Yeah, I'd be like, let's go back to the room, have a nap, and see if this all faded away in about an hour. Yeah. Let's give this a little bit of time.
But also, you don't like want to draw attention to yourself. Like, just like stay still, like Jurassic Park style. You're like, oh, just don't move, just don't move. They won't do anything if you don't move.
It's not a bad strategy.
That would be I understand why people aren't moving.
Wouldn't fight against it. But yeah, love this whole Hawaii section.
The other reason I love the Hawaii section is they brilliantly found a way to turn a scene that I thought was like slightly cringy into a favorite scene. Because James Marsters ruining his sister-in-law's wedding was like funny, but I also like kind of hate those storylines sometimes. I'm like, no, her wedding, she's so nice. Like, why do you keep ruining her life? Because in the first movie, he stole her car and tied her up and destroyed her car. So like, he's like taking her wedding ring and her phone's going off during her service. And you're like, oh no, he's ruining the wedding. And all the snow comes through to save Sonic. And you just feel so bad for her. But then when you find out her fiance is an undercover agent and it was all a sham, you're like, oh, this was all just fun. It didn't matter. Oh, yay. Like this huge weight was lifted off my shoulders that you didn't ruin her wedding at all. It was a sham. And it's kind of brilliant. Like it worked so incredibly well for my fun levels of like, I'm no longer worried about this woman and her marriage because I'm a very anxiety driven lady. So all my cares flew out the window. Perfectly executed.
And that I think is a great example of like them really nailing the writing of the world that this movie exists in, where it is heightened but relaxed at the same time, and everything has stakes but don't worry about it. But they hit that very delicate sweet spot of like worry about your characters but don't worry too much, and that is such a fine line to write and perform and to sell, and this really lands in it.
Yeah, because another thing this movie did that I really loved, because it is at its heart a kid's movie, all of the cops had tasers instead of guns. And I thought that was wonderful, that everything has this like non-lethal vibe to it. Like no one's gonna get hit with a bullet. Like not even just the scene with Shamar Moore. Like Adam Pally back in Green Beans or wherever he lives had a taser pulled on the minion. Like pretty much every scene with an air quote gun actually was a taser.
Yeah.
And I think that was actually just like a small change that I haven't seen a lot of movies do that I really like. Just this idea that our first resort is non-lethal.
Right. And to be like, we're getting it correct right out of the gate. You know, we're not ETing it where later we CGI'd it to be radios.
Yeah. We know it's for kids.
We're not going to change guns to walkie-talkies. What if we just existed in a medium ground that is somewhat acceptable for this heightened reality?
What if it was a world with magic portals and hedgehogs that could have super speed, and we didn't resort to guns as a first resort? It sounds like a lovely world.
A stun gun is going to do us just fine.
A stun gun will do you fine in most situations.
Now, I will throw down one thing that I didn't necessarily love about this movie is that they have a lot of confidence that you just recently watched Sonic. Which I'm like, that's kind of a bold, weird. This isn't the MCU. I didn't do a rewatch marathon. And also, it's like a lot of the kids seeing this movie like are very young and maybe didn't see the first or whatever. Because there's shit where it's like the general or whatever from the first one showed
from
up.
Olive Garden, I guess.
Yeah, and I think there was a plot where he gave James Marsden's character an Olive Garden gift card or something in the first one, but he shows up and everyone's like, Olive Garden, you're here? And I'm like, who? Was a scene deleted? I don't know who this dude is. And even just like, even though Adam Pally is very funny as Wade, the other cop of this small town, it's like as they're talking about him before they introduce him, they're like, you know that idiot. And I'm like, what idiot? What idiot? I saw this movie years ago. I don't know who any of these people are.
I will actually pretty strongly disagree on this.
Really?
Just because they did flash back to the first movie for plot relevant things. So I think they couldn't do it for too many things. Like they flashed back to Clawhorn?
Yeah, Longclaw, I think.
Longclaw?
Yeah.
They flashed back to all the Longclaw stuff. We flashed back to some stuff we didn't see before, which was Knuckles' backstory. There was some other flashback. Oh, when he like did the baseball thing and all the energy went out, and that's how Tails saw him for the first time. So there were already like 3 flashbacks to the first movie for plot relevant stuff that I actually needed. So I think too many or like would have been too much, but there are some references were necessary. Like I think it was a little weird when Shamar Moore is like, you stole her car and tied her up, and I'm like, oh, okay, but you needed that to establish that he's ruined her life before, and that's kind of an ongoing thing. He's gonna ruin her wedding now. Well, and if there's a third movie, he'll ruin her honeymoon. Like,
I agree with you. That was good reiteration, but it was still also putting me off because I'm like, I don't remember this other woman, and I don't remember this, and I don't remember this plot line. And as the movie went on, I'm like, I guess it's kind of coming back to me. And like they gave me the context clues. I wasn't lost during Sonic 2. But it did seem to like move forward with a momentum and confidence that I very articulately remember the tying to the chair of the sister-in-law, and I really did not.
I don't mind the reiteration of the tie to the chair of the sister-in-law if you're pulling her in for this big story. I agree. I don't think we needed air quote Olive Garden back because I do not remember this man at all.
Yeah, this man.
And we liked the first movie. Like we were watching it intently. So I don't think we needed to bring this dude back in, or at least if you are going to bring him back in, don't reference an old joke
Yeah.
that we don't recall.
And especially when, if I remember correctly, he was the placeholder villain until Robotnik showed up.
No, because there was like a more famous guy. Wasn't like Neil McDonough also in the first one?
Neil McDonough was also there.
He was the placeholder until Robotnik showed up.
I think Olive Garden had Neil McDonough and then fired Neil McDonough and hired Robotnik. It was a little sloppy with the villain stuff in the first one, but either way, it didn't. There was just a small thing about this where I'm like, you assumed I watched it recently, and I had not.
I get it. Like, if I had watched it recently, it definitely would have had a 5% more joy to it, I think.
Ooh, yeah, I could see that.
So yeah, you would have been like, oh, Olive Garden, that was a good joke. I'm glad it's back.
Yeah. Now let's talk about Jim Carrey.
Oh, okay.
Because Jim is doing everything here, and it really is delightful how much he's doing alone on a soundstage. And especially when a lot of his lines on the scripts, like even when he has a joke, clearly so much of the humor of this is just, we wrote in the script this one line that's kind of a joke, and then it has the direction, Jim does something. And Jim always does something that elevates it to a good, zany level.
Yeah, I mean, half of it is the costume. The costume's doing a ton of work. Jim Carrey's doing a ton of work, but every line is heightened by the fact that he has this ridiculous mustache and this big-ass coat and all this stuff is going on.
And the Nintendo Power Glove.
The Power Gloves really add, this, very, just villainous, if you aren't seeing his hands, he could be doing anything treacherous, literally behind his back, is, really a nice touch and gave him a lot to do with his fingers for good reasons. Really great, just kind of writing, character design, costume design. But yeah, Jim Carrey just... Because all of his scenes are with Sonic and Knuckles. He is, for the second movie, completely alone all the time, just yelling into a void, or he's hanging from space running his robot, and he's just like, time for big steps! Then he has to do a big step! And it's funny! And his physicality is over the top, always, and he just gets to be Max Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
He is,
it's something freeing about it, and also just to be able to give something, and obviously, I don't think the general audience has ever had a doubt that Jim Carrey could give something the max. But it is still,
we've all seen The Mask and Ace Ventura, but it's been a few years since we've seen Max Jim Carrey.
And still, even for a improvisational, zany actor who can give it the max, to do that in a vacuum is still tough and requires a level of weird person commitment that he is able to do it on a soundstage in front of no one for nothing with no scene partner and none of the details or props around him. So kudos to him for that.
Yeah, because you completely have no energy to bounce off of, so it's all internally motivated. You kind of feel silly if there's no scene partner.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing incredible stuff.
And I think the movie, even right away, it really kind of gets itself with showing what is essentially multiple takes of him doing a scene. The opening scene where he's trying to make coffee out of mushrooms. And it tastes bad, and he does a spit take. And then the narration is I tried a lot. And it is just clearly the same day on set, and it's Jim just doing 12 different variations of a spit take, but they imply it's different days, even though they don't even bother changing the CGI background or his clothes. It's just multiple takes of Jim doing what I'm sure in the script was meant to be one spit take. And in the edit, the directors were just like, this is too funny. Show every one of the ones that he did.
We're not cutting a single spit take. They're all in. Yeah, Jim Carrey is wonderful. Have we covered them all? James Marsters is lovely. Oh.
Marsden.
Marsters. This one's Marsden?
This one's Marsden.
God damn, this one's Marsden.
I always screw up the Marsden and Marsters, and I'm sure
I know which ones
we're
do
not
what
the first.
I know which ones do which projects, but not which Mars is Mars.
Yeah, I think Marsden does a really good job here, maybe even better than the first. He brings a good bit of heart to it, and the father-son relationship that they inject here, I think it works.
The father-son really works. The whole family works this time. I think the wife didn't get as much to do in the first one. I think she went away on a trip at the very beginning of the first one.
Right.
And this time they went on a trip together. The family vibe really works. Not gonna lie, teared up a little at the end when they were all going to die together under the foot of the Robotnik robot. Not a movie I expected to cry in, but it genuinely got to me. Like them not abandoning him, even though he was the target of the robot, like holding hands, ready to die together. I'm like, oh my God, I'm crying at Sonic the Hedgehog too.
They got me.
What's going on?
They got me, and they got us too, doing a really good job right off the start with the scene in the boat of just being like, are we buddies or fathers? Are you my buddy or are you my dad? And establishing that right away to be like, this is actually kind of a problem point that Sonic 1 had, and writing that in, establishing it, leaning into it, and clarifying that relationship is just very confident and well done. I love it.
Very confident, very well done. They really gave him kind of like the Uncle Ben role of like, here's the hero tagline for you.
Yeah.
What is it? A hero doesn't save himself, he saves others.
Yes.
I believe.
Something along those lines.
Weird that that's like a motto you learned from your dad. I guess you became a cop.
It's not about saving yourself, it's about protecting others.
Protecting others.
Protecting others, yeah, because it's not save twice, yeah. But yeah, maybe his dad was a small town cop too, or something like that. But it worked as the general turning point, and a really cohesive theme line as well, to be like, this is the hero's journey, and then using that to turn Knuckles into the hero's reluctant anti-hero buddy towards the end. It's clever, clean writing that tied everything together for a kids movie in a clear and concise way, but a way that is not too abrupt or random.
I did love how clean the writing was in this movie. Just like, we want the emerald. That's the movie, but not in it's too basic way. Because like Knuckles is constantly like slightly changing his allegiances. Not really. He's like learning about trust and stuff and family. But like, yeah, it's just get the thing and don't die. And like, I love how straightforward this plot is. Actually, this is delightful.
And that is actually one thing that I want to talk about as a real strong suit for this movie that I really love, is that it is the same director and same writers as Sonic 1. And I know that seems like a simple thing, like a thing that maybe we take for granted because predominantly we cover live action and more adult movies on this podcast. But especially in the realm of animated and kids, studios, and I'm not saying this is my opinion, I'm saying studios and production places treat directors and writers of kids and animated as very replaceable. So it's like when a studio goes to make a sequel to an animated movie, it is, do we give a pay bump to the previous writers and director? Fuck no. Get someone newer and cheaper, because no one is going to these movies for the writer and director. And that is a very cold, calculated, shitty approach that a lot of studios have. And it's true for 90% of kids animated stuff, because kids grow up, they phase out, it's a whole new audience. You know, if you changed writers and directors and Sonic 2 was worse, there's not going to be anyone who's like, release the Jeff Fowler cut. There's not that same type of like fanatical obsession, because your fan base completely changes and updates every 5 years.
I was actually going to say the opposite. There is a fanatical obsession, but they're obsessed with the characters and not the writers, directors.
True.
So it's like, oh, Ice Age 1 was really good, so we'll see Ice Age 1 to 5, and we don't care who makes them.
Right.
I can't think of another franchise that has like 5 things in it. I'm sure there's other ones.
Well,
but like, so you like, they don't, kids don't care if like you've spent less on the production and less on the writers and less on the directors. They liked the first one, so they're going to watch every singular one.
I still don't even think that studios will necessarily spend the money on talent, because you look at stuff like legitimately Ice Age and Madagascar is another one they made like 5 of, where it's, I think Ice Age, maybe they got 1 or 2, maybe 3 out of the main voice talent. And then they started doing voice match actual cartoon actors that they paid less, because they're like, why would we pay, I forget who was in Ice Age.
Ray Romano, Dennis Leary, and John Leguizamo.
There we go. Why would we pay Ray Romano the money Ray Romano wants when we can get a Ray Romano impersonator for half the price? So yeah, like Ice Age, Madagascar, a lot of these kids' movies, it's very common they change the writer-director all the time, but then also eventually reach a point where it's like, we can't give this lead actor a 4th pay bump, so fuck them. But I love that Sonic 2 did keep the same writers and director, because that added a lot of the heart. It carried a lot of the same momentum. It fixed a lot of its previous mistakes, and it continued the exact tone, and it allowed the actors to shine even more because it's writers and directors who knew where these actors' strengths were after filming the first one.
Yeah, this movie's kind of a perfect balance of like a kids movie and kind of an MCU action movie in that way, because like the MCU is very much like if you're doing a good job, you keep your franchise, like the Russo brothers.
Yeah.
I guess Deadpool's not MCU. Who does the Spider-Mans? John Watts?
I actually forget.
He's like only done the Spider-Mans,
Yeah.
but he's great. He's done all 3 of the Spider-Mans.
Sure.
So like you get to keep your franchise in the Marvel universe if you're doing a good job. Taika staying on with Thor. So it
Yeah.
kind of feels like a mix of that.
And even
of
like in the DC, your Snyder's getting multiple movies. Your Patty Jenkins getting multiple movies.
yeah. So it feels like that of like, oh, you did a good job. You could do an even better job with the second one. Whereas most kids movies are like, we can get people who can do what you do for cheaper, and the kids won't care. They're kids.
Absolutely.
And this is a beautiful mix of both. Because even like you can tell in a lot of scenes it's the same writers, directors, because even the jokes that aren't just Ben Schwartz doing stuff are the same in a fun way. Like when they show up at the bar in Siberia, it is very similar to showing up at the biker bar in the first movie, but I do not care. It's even kind of the same beats. If you don't recall the first movie, Sonic is at a biker bar and James Marsden tells him not to go in, and this increasingly cooler stuff is happening next door at the biker bar. There's like Molotov cocktails are going off, and there's like a race, and he just can't, and like it's a three-peat.
He can't not go in.
He can't not go in. So this one, when they get to the bar in Siberia, and there's this wonderful three-peat of guy with a knife, guy with a gun, a grandmother with knitting needles. Oh no, she's making a skull flag.
So funny. So funny.
When she held up that skull flag,
and it's a
knitting.
mask.
Oh, it was creepy.
It was upset, and then it turns into a dance off, which is the other guy in the dance off. Phenomenal. A, as a dancer, but B, selling it as a guy who is sincerely hurt and brokenhearted that he's losing a dance off to Sonic. He does a phenomenal job of playing the comedy by not playing the comedy at all.
We talked about how the bride and groom have their own like mini movie. That guy in the dance-off also had his own little mini-movie of like, I'm going to win this dance-off. Me and my boys have done an incredible job. I'm going to be such a good dancer. I'm going to defeat some kind of weird little alien, and then just losing all sense of self as Sonic and Tails bring it together and play different music. And he's like, oh no, I've never heard of Bruno Mars here in Siberia, I guess. This beat is unfamiliar to me.
And they wrecked him.
They wrecked him. In a really real way.
Yeah.
Like, he just kind of got, like, since, like, no punches were thrown, they didn't, like, no barbs, no, like, verbal taunts. He just kind of got wrecked by watching how good they were.
Yeah, man just got wrecked, yeah.
It was kind of
and he fell apart inside. I saw his soul leave his body. He was so shattered that he had lost this competition.
The tattoo of himself on his chest should have flown away.
The tattoo of himself doing the pose that he's doing when he shows the tattoo of himself. Terrific comedy. Just terrific comedy, and everyone gives everything in this movie.
Terrific comedy. Also, the dancing of him and his, like...
Really good dancing,
holy
too.
Holy crap.
Yeah, hot dog.
When him and those 3 guys are all in sync doing the Serbian dancing?
Hot dog.
Holy shit. Like, honestly, Sonic and Tails are using, like, magic and holograms. I'm still not sure they're better than that guy.
No one is. No one is. That dude's the shit.
That guy
dude
was
is
incredible.
Really good.
Like, he should have still felt really good about himself at the end of the day.
He should. Sonic had more fun out there, though. You know, you got to have fun out there.
He had the heart.
If you want to win it all, you got to have fun out there with it, right? But yeah, I liked that scene. I think it could have done without the tongue soup misinterpretation stuff. That humor didn't work for me at all, but maybe kids like it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we needed a reason for them to have the dance-off, so there had to be some kind of miscommunication.
Yeah, I guess. I think it could have just been a bar that was having a dance-off.
Ooh,
and I think that
just a nice
would
Serbian
be funny in itself.
Dance-off night.
Yeah, so I think that it has some potential for something like that there.
So Siberia's fun, and then I think my last thing I want to get into is just like fun stuff from the video game that wasn't like too overpowering. Like little things like he doesn't like water because the water version and the water level is famously terrifying. They didn't play this music when he was underwater.
That's too much. That's too much for kids. Kids can't handle that.
Yeah.
We would hear open weeping in the theater. Just like babies crying. The whole thing would fall apart.
I do need to see a version of that scene with the music over it, though.
Yeah.
Not in front of children. They will be traumatized.
Yeah.
It is
But
upsetting.
Sucking in air bubbles that he finds, which is from the game, which is good. I think not being able to swim, I was like, oh, okay. But once it got to him saving Knuckles and he's just walking along the ocean floor, I'm like, oh, that is kind of how you move underwater in the game. And that actually felt
he doesn't
very
swim.
cool and simple. Yeah.
Another little simple thing, just like him dropping down by holding a rock. It was a very tiny thing, but just like a really heightened, like he can't swim at all.
Yeah.
Like he can't even fight his way up. He has no idea how any of it works. He can breathe in a little bubble, but he's gonna die down here.
And I know that seems like a simple thing, but for people who can't swim, it is difficult to dive. Like, I'm a decent swimmer. I still find diving difficult as well.
Diving is hard. Our bodies want to go up.
Our bodies want to go up, and it depends on the body, but some bodies are more buoyant than others. And I don't know what the fuck Sonic's body is like when it comes to buoyancy.
Yeah, so that was fun. Just other little things like the owner's manual was a Sega guide.
Yeah.
And then the last one was, I think, Knuckles like hit him and he lost all his rings. And it was like a plot point and a video game point, I think.
Yeah, I don't think I really put together that it was because of a hit, but yeah, he did lose his rings. Yeah.
So yeah, he got hit, he lost his rings, and like that leads to the whole James Marsden at the wedding thing. It was actually like a brilliant plot point.
Yeah.
He never went back and got the rings though. Like it was the first
I mean, there was an
movie-
avalanche.
I know, but the first movie was so like the rings, you can only never use them. They're so valuable. They're so
Right.
rare.
Now-
Feels like we just have a ton of rings now.
I feel like also the writers realized it's like, oh shit, we got a bunch of teleportation rings that can do anything all the time. Maybe that was a bit too much.
It is a little too easy.
Yeah. So yeah, losing the rings was a nice little touch as well, and just the design of everything. When the Robotnik's costume, the giant metal Robotnik, the floating egg that he's in with the drones and the stingers, and all of the enemy design from the Sonic games was all pretty nice. And when his assistant Agent Stone, played by Lee Majdoub, is going through outfits in the coffee shop.
Yeah.
One of them is the traditional video game outfit
Robotic.
look.
Yeah. Really, really nice touches. Like very well done in a way that the movie absolutely still works if you miss them and if you haven't played the games. But like if you have played the games, you're like, oh cute. But like completely works within the plot.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
And I like that.
Nice little nods. It's weird to see the Sega logo in the opening of a film, especially when it's like they're showing clips of all of their other games, and it's like the Sega film universe. It's like, you made one,
It's
man.
just one.
Let's take it. Let's cool it a little bit.
It made me like, I was like, are these gonna all connect? Are you gonna make a Yakuza game and it's gonna connect to Sonic?
Yeah,
and
like,
like
what-
are you making a universe Sega?
What else we got going on here, my dudes? You made Double Dragon. Are we gonna bring that back?
Oh yeah, Double Dragon was fun.
Yeah,
no, well, actually, I think we hated it, but it was a fun idea.
It's fun, and it's in a bad way. I think it was the bad kind of fun, or the fun kind of bad. I think I should say.
So yeah.
Yeah, but we'll see if Sega does other shit. But there's definitely going to be a Sonic 3.
There will definitely be a Sonic 3.
I think it's safe to presume this is probably going to do well. The first one did very well. It's popular with kids. It's popular with families. Ben Schwartz is a delight. I think everything's going to be just fine. We'll see Shadow in a future movie.
It better do well.
Dark Sonic.
It better do well because this was a perfectly balanced film, almost in every way. And I don't know anything about Shadow, so I'm excited to learn about Shadow.
It's evil Dark Sonic.
I kind of thought Knuckles was evil Dark Sonic.
No, Knuckles is like a curmudgeonly friend, you know?
Okay.
If Sonic is Spider-Man, Knuckles is Wolverine, and Shadow is Venom.
Oh, that really helps. Thank you. Okay. Knuckles even has like some Wolverine-y Knuckles.
Wolverine claws and stuff, where it's like, that's a
Okay.
grumpy dude who's around sometimes who you can team up with, but also have a fight with. But like Shadow, it's like you're dealing with some shit now.
Okay. So R-rated Sonic 3.
Yeah, that's right. There's gonna be cusses.
Excellent.
Butts, full dick. It's gonna be a mess.
man, full dick.
It's going to be a mess.
He is not wearing pants.
That is true. He is not
Just
wearing
gloves.
pants at any given point. And shoes.
And shoes.
I do find it weird Knuckles doesn't have fingers. But I think that's...
I mean, I thought it was a mitten.
It does look like a boxing glove, I think is the idea. But I don't know if that's his
makes more
hand.
sense. No, it's not his hand.
No.
Like, it looks like a fabric. That's what I
Yeah.
find weird about it. It's supposed to be like, it hits so hard, but I'm like, it looks like your hand's made of a fabric. Though.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, a boxing glove is also made of fabric and still hurts very much.
But it hurts more to get hit by a hand.
No.
What?
Yeah.
No.
A boxing glove's purpose is primarily to protect the bones in your hand, not to soften the blow against another person.
I don't understand.
All right.
I don't know enough about Sonic.
Well, Diana's sundowning, so let's go in for the close and let's ask the final question of what would you change? So now that we've discussed everything we discussed, what would you change about this movie if you could change anything? But before we do ask the final question, we will remind you, as we do every week, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you might get your podcasts. We really appreciate it. It helps us move up the charts and warms our hearts as well.
It warms our hearts. You guys would not believe how relevant, hip, and happening we have found out we are this week. Thank you, everyone who left us those crazy reviews about how relevant, hip, and happening we were on Podcast Addict and iTunes.
Yep.
It's been an absolute delight of a week. Loved reading them.
Just such a delight. We said it as a goof. We did not actually expect y'all to come through. Like, shout out to, I know there were a few of you, but shout out to like the first few that we saw, Brofort, Farhees, and Chocolatey Yum Yum. Appreciate y'all. That is such a delight, and all the ones that keep rolling in. Y'all are the best.
Y'all are so great. Thank you so much for leaving reviews. It really helps us move the chart. People know we are good if they read them. And they also know that, like, we all are hip, relevant, and happening.
Yeah, we're relevant, hip, and happening.
If I saw 4 reviews in a row that say that, I'd be like, well, I guess.
I was at home reading those reviews, and I did multiple dabs. That's how relevant, hip, and happening I am, which is not very, but we don't need to
I flossed
be
a
like
little.
that. Yeah, so we're relevant, hip, and happening. We get it. Leave a review. We really appreciate it. Free way to support the podcast. If you do want to support the podcast monetarily, check us out over on Patreon. Patreon's a monthly subscription service where you can subscribe at whatever level you can afford, and you're going to get cool bonuses for doing it. So you can chip in $1 a month, 3, 5, 10, 20, whatever you got going on.
Any of the numbers in between those numbers?
Any of the numbers at all. You can subscribe at that level. You can do monthly. You can do yearly. You can also cancel or change at any given time, so there's no stress there. If you do happen to sign up at the $10 hero level, you get a bonus episode of this podcast every single month. This month, we're doing 2 bonus episodes because y'all loved hearing us talk about Twilight last month, and we've somehow never spoiled Twilight for ourselves.
Gotta finish it off.
We've got to finish it off, so we're going to be doing Eclipse.
We're going to do
The
episode
third
on
one?
Eclipse, and then we're doing a double episode on Breaking Dawn. So it's one
Yes.
episode about 2 movies. So we're covering 3 movies on the Patreon this month.
3 movies covered, 2 episodes over on Patreon. The episode on Eclipse should be up this week. Head on over to patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. It's patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. And check it out. And now, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change? So now that we've discussed everything we've discussed, what would you change about this movie if you could change anything? Diana, what would you change?
Not a whole lot. It's real good. So my only changes that I can come up with is I do really like this storyline with the sister and her fiance, and he's an undercover agent or whatever. But then they completely disappear. So I'm gonna kind of like rework this a little bit, where he realizes he's in love with her and wants to be with her. He actually turns on his boss and helps them all break Sonic out.
Okay.
Because the military shows up at the end, but they don't do anything. So I don't think we need the whole military there. It really is just Sonic and the crew. So I think then the fiance and his like bro groomsmen join the crew. And we all go back to Greenvale, wherever this town is.
Green Zone.
Green Zone. And we all work together.
Or Green Valley? Is it Green Valley Zone? Sorry, but green.
It's green.
Green, yeah.
So the fiance comes with his like bro groomsmen who we met briefly, who seemed fun. The military doesn't show up. We're like turning on them. We're working on our own. We don't need them. And then we have a bigger family at the end, because the family still really absolutely works as it is. But if the the sister and her husband were also there. Like, Sonic has such a big family then, and they've all worked together to beat Robotnik. You can really forgive this guy if he's turned on his boss. Like, he kind of doesn't do anything until it's all, like, settled.
Yeah,
and he's like, I love her. So if he turns on his boss and is like, please forgive me, I'm going to give everything up for you, and they can really be in love, and they can go fight Robotnik. And the sister also seems like a badass and needs to do more stuff. So I think it'd be more fun if they were there. It's already very fun. These are just slight additions because the movie absolutely works. So yeah, more of the sister and her fiance.
I love this.
Thank you.
I love this. I'm on board 100%.
Excellent. Andrew, what are your changes?
Not much. Like, I think it does work for the most part. I think that it needs to lose 15 minutes. It's not just me. Like, I think the movie does lose momentum, and especially for kids. Like, we even noticed in the theater that we were in, kids were loving it, and then in the last 15 minutes, kids wanted to get the fuck out.
Yeah, it was just a little too long for them.
It's too long for kids, and it's also too long for us as adults, where I'm like, okay, you've done everything you need to do. I think the quickest and easiest place to lose a bit of time is when they go from Hawaii back to Green Hill Zone. I think we can just have that final fight there in Hawaii. We don't need to have that weird lull because they're in Hawaii and Robotnik grabs the emerald and is now like all powerful, and then teleports himself back to Green Hill Zone. And then Knuckles and Sonic talk, and then they meet up with Tails.
They get a
and
plane.
then they find the family, and then they get a plane, and
get
then
a
they go back,
helicopter.
and then they go back, and then they talk to the military, and then it just becomes this real like dead area lull. And especially when we just were building up steam with this like, why did you save me? A whole thing collapsed and undercut the big fight. That's when it should just keep going. And then I think it even pairs into yours really well, where if it's still there in Hawaii off the shores of the wedding, then now suddenly we have Rachel and Randall, her new husband, and like his groomsmen, special agent bros, who can all get in on the fight as well. And we just make the giant Robotnik fight happen right away, then and there, because everyone has already had their revelation, their character revelation of Sonic being like, I need to be a hero, but I have growing to do. Of Knuckles being like, I need to find a friend and someone I can trust. You know, Tails being like, I'm part of this crew. Everyone has had their moment. And then we just softly reiterate those moments over the course of 10 to 15 minutes. I think that is the section of the movie where easily we trim it, it starts happening in Hawaii, boom, we're out of the theater sooner, and the momentum carries forward better.
I absolutely agree. You can feel that is where all the momentum drops. I think the momentum drops the second that we cut to the minion back home, like in the coffee shop, and Adam Pally like catches him, and I'm like, this is like fine scene, but why do we have a scene with the minion and Adam Pally? Like, this is very cuttable.
Yeah, we're
plot-wise.
We're at a point now where all of the mains are concluding their character arc, and now we're getting a comedic relief scene in a different city.
Yeah, no,
100%.
I love that change. Yeah, get there way faster. There was no reason for Robotnik to like leave locations. We can get right into the fight. The fight could even be a little bit shorter. I think that would like cut most of the time, and it would really like pick up the pace.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the other way that you can cut time is a little bit off the Siberia scene, where
it is a little long.
Where they come into the bar, they're like, "Oh no, this bar looks tough." You know, tough looking person with a knife stabs it into the table, lady with a crochet thing, and then it's just like, what does that sign say? And it just says "Dance off tonight." You know, like prize, free room and board, and just they've got to win to stay there the night. I think that is as good
Andrew, that is some concise writing right there.
I think that is as good as I've got a translator. The translator kind of works. I said her breath smells. The whole bar stopped. They were going to burn us to death. They think we're monsters.
Burn you to death.
We had to invoke the Klingon trial. Like, yeah, just they go in. It is a seemingly tough bar that's having a dance-off.
Dance off for free room and board. You know, the classic contest.
The classic contest. You know, that I think is the heightened world this exists in. But that's where I'm at. You cut those 15 minutes out, and then by doing that, I'm with you. By doing that as well, then it stays in Hawaii, and we get to bring in Rachel and Randall more.
I love this. It's tighter. It's faster. It's peppier. Beautiful.
Boom. We did it.
Boom.
Well, that is going to be it for this week for Sonic the Hedgehog 2. We are going to be back next week, and next week we are talking about everything, everywhere, all at once. And we'll be talking about that next week. And don't forget to check out patreon.com/FromSuperheroes if you want to check out the bonus episodes we're doing this month, which is going to be 2 bonuses on the remaining Twilight films that we didn't cover last month on the podcast. So check it out, patreon.com/FromSuperheroes. And in the meantime, if you want to get a hold of us, you can reach me online. I'm at Ivimey, Ivimey.
Me, I'm at Words of Diana.
And you can reach both of us at From Superheroes. And we'll talk to y'all next week.
Bye.